It's so incredibly hot today. I'm sweating like Pete Townsend at a book signing. This is, I think, my favourite Fender Mexican guitars they ever made. These came out in 2009. This is the first run of the Fender Road Worn series. And I think they're the most comfortable feeling Mexican guitars that I've ever played. They seem to me to be a step above what Fender Mexico are doing these days. A lightweight guitar, sounds great, is really addictive to play. This belongs to my buddy Chris, but I wanted to kind of do a video on this as I think it's kind of like the golden era of the Fender Mexican shop. This channel is supported by TrueFire. TrueFire is an online library of lessons from some of my favourite players. There's thousands of lessons on there. You can use the promo code JNC40 to get 40% off of any of their courses. I did a video the other day kind of on the Fender Mexico plant, Ensenada, I believe it's called. It's about something like 3 hours away from the Fender, the main Corona plant. And I think, especially, well, from what you read online, like bits and pieces go back and forth between the factories. In terms of being something close to what comes out of the Fender custom shop, I think this is the closest really that the Fender Mexico have got, and it does really have all of those feelings that I personally quite like about the Fender custom shop stuff, where it's got this nice worn finish. Now, of course, looks wise, I think there are some sort of question marks that you might have around this, particularly focusing on this area here. This is a guitarist that never played in E major, obviously, or C sharp minor, never played Slow Dancing in the Burning Room. It's before that was written, clearly. This particular 50s Strat that they based it on, you know, obviously. Yeah, anyway, a little bit odd, that part of it, and that remained odd until they started to make them with a slightly less relic appearance. Apparently the bodies are stamped RW because this is like a Fender rep story that my buddy Chris told me. Apparently they didn't want these guitars to be mistaken for something that they're not, which fair enough. It's not, if you look at it up close, it is not the worst relicing that I've seen. I think it looks pretty decent. The only downside with it is that if you see it alongside another Fender Road Worn, the relicing is super uniform, but it's clearly a very lightweight nitro finish and feels super comfortable. It's got the V-shaped neck, which is very comfortable, and up here quite sort of slim and fast feeling, despite being a 7.5 inch radius, or 7.25, you know, vintage radius. Nice larger frets, which I think is a benefit when you've got kind of a radius like this. One area that looks a little bit cheaper that they could have gone to town on, I guess, would have been to give it a bone nut. It's got kind of this little plasticky looking nut, which is, I kind of think, maybe the only sort of weak point of the guitar per se. These pickups have been changed for K-line pickups. My buddy Chris had some Yngwie Malmsteen, I think like bare knuckle pickups in there, the Trilogy suite, and he now has these K-line pickups in it, which I think sound pretty good. It's tuned to E flat at the moment, but most of all, I just want to play the thing, and that's... So if you want to know my story in terms of the Fender Road Worn, I was in a band which was called Ceasefire at the time, and there was a manager who did a lot of coke and had some really bad ideas, and it turns out was part of the reason that we didn't get any success at all beyond a certain point, because he'd just been basically lying to lots of labels. Yeah, so I joined the band kind of on a real downslide, and basically we did a couple of gigs, and he said, I had a white G&L Legacy at the time. He said, you can't gig a white guitar, which we all know is obviously the case in it. So he said, you need to get a black guitar. So I looked for something that kind of suited what I thought would fit the band, which was kind of like a black guitar that looked a bit beaten up. So a Fender Road Worn. I think I paid about £500 for one. And I used that guitar quite a bit. And my first sort of paid gigs within the function scene were on a one of these, and also when I met my wife, I would have been playing one of these, and I quite liked it. What I had to do was tilt the E saddle a little bit to stop it rolling off the fret edge. The frets are pretty tapered. I'll try and get a close-up of that. That's one little downside that I think I can remember having on mine, and can see it on this as well. So I think that's where the fret edges are rolled, that you actually roll off the frets a little bit. I eventually sold mine because I made myself the Twattercaster, which by that point we started our own little band called Boa, and we didn't have that manager, so it wasn't so much a problem what I chose to gig with live. and then I sold it for about what I paid for it. I think the guy I bought it off had upgraded the bridge to a Callahan bridge, or a Callahan block maybe, and I used the stock pickups, which at the time I think were the Fender Specials. Was that what they were called? Kind of hot Stratish pickups. But I think it's a wonderful looking guitar, lightweight, plays and sounds fantastically. So I think this, for me, is the golden era of Mexican guitars, or Mexican Fender guitars. And I think this was around a similar time to the Fender Baja Tele, which was when Chris Fleming went down to the Mexican place. Chris Fleming was a master builder. And it seems like this is where, you know, you get a bit of that kind of ideas flowing between places where, you know, Fender Custom Shop went down to, you know, the Mexican plant and said, this is what we do to build our guitars. You know, let us set you up a couple of, what would the word be? Templates, and go from there. That, to me, is exactly what it feels like to play and what it kind of looks like, and I think that's quite a cool thing. Let me know your thoughts on the Fender Road Warns. If you've got a better suggestion for better Mexican Fenders than this, I'd love to hear them. And, you know, this is the sort of guitar that I'd have my eye out on for a guitar under the £1,000 price range. You can occasionally find them there that have held their value really well, that are pretty great, I think, feeling and playing instruments with a lot of resonance, feel really comfortable in the hands, and are nice lightweight as well. When they first came out, they were around the £800, £900 mark, and the Fender Vintera is still around that sort of price range, and the Road Warns. I don't think, to my mind, I would assume that these are better quality, better instruments, but I've not played. I played Vinteras. I think one or two Road Warns where the necks and like the Vinteras didn't feel very comfortable and felt quite kind of spiky, you know, like maybe you might expect from a cheaper sort of Mexican guitar, not like a super high quality one. I think comparatively this feels really high quality. Let me know your experience if you've had the same or not. Cheers. Oh, I'm using the Helix Native for this. I've been using the Eric Lee 2023 preset, and in the intro I was using the Glassy Lead Plexi preset. So if you like the sound of any of this, then give that a try. Catch you in another video soon. Cheers.